Hey, it's Dr. Linda Davis, and today I want to finish off the Star Wars PowerPoint. I did the first 3 slides in a previous video, and now we're going to work on slides 4 through 8. So here we go. If you'll notice in your booklet, it even says that, there's a lot of similarities between slide 3 and slide 4. And so what we can do to minimize our time spent on these is just take in the slide sorter, make a copy of slide 3 and paste it as slide 4. So I'm going to go to slide 3 in the slide sorter. I'm going to copy that. You can right click, select copy, or you can just do Control C and then Control V right underneath that. So you basically come up with a new slide 4. Now it is a duplicate. We do need to delete some things off of this one, but we'll keep what we want to keep and delete what we need to get rid of. So looking at your booklet, page 21 is the page I'm on in the booklet, and I want to go up here and decide what to keep, what to throw away. I'll start at the top with the Queen Amidala subtitle. Do I need that? Well, yes, I do. That is part of slide 4. However, do I need it animated? No, I don't, because it already animated on slide 3. And if you remember our general rule in PowerPoint, if it animates on the previous slide, don't animate it again. So on this one, let's just remove animation as you see it light up over here in the animation pane. So go down and select remove for the Queen Amidala subtitle. Also, the action figure is next. The action figure, did it appear on slide 3? Yes, it did. Does it need to animate on slide 4? No, because it already animated on slide 3, so we need to remove the animation. I mean, we need to keep it, but we need to remove the animation only. So let me go over here and click on that so I can see where it lights up in the animation pane. Click on the down arrow, and we will remove that animation from that. So those 2 items will stay perfectly still as we cruise into slide 4. Now, the text box here, actress Natalie Portman, I don't need those actual words, but I can reuse this text box just because I can replace the text with what really is there. And so what I can do, it says major episode 1 character. I can change the words to reflect that. And I need to stretch that out just a tiny bit more to make it stay on one line. The other thing I need to do is change the color. It's not white. On this part, it is actually a dark pink color like you would pull from the background of the action figure. And I want to show you how to do that tool. That's using the eyedropper tool. And so when you click on that text box, when we go to the font color, and let me go back to home and the font ribbon, the font colors here, let me look at my choices. It would be hard to exactly match up that background, but I can use the eyedropper, which will help greatly. I'll click on the eyedropper tool in the font color area, and notice it changes your mouse, and then when you drive over the background of that action figure image, it pulls the color from wherever you land. And I'll just get one of those dark pink shades. Click on that. Notice how it immediately changes the color of your font here, so that kind of matches it up nicely. Now, so there in a way I kept that, but I just modified it to meet the needs of what it should be. Now, the start on this I believe is a little different. It is box in, but it's after previous on this, and I think before it was an on-click move. So let me check that out. Let me look in the animation pane. Let me click on the down arrow. And it is on click, but I want to change it to after previous. All right, so now the next parts, I have a feeling we're not going to need any of these parts here. We don't need these photos. We don't need these text boxes. We have some bullet text coming up, and some arrows coming up instead. So I'm going to delete these 3 images that were on slide 3 that I don't need on slide 4. I don't need these text boxes. It's different animation anyway. But what I do need to add is a single bullet. Okay, so I can go into insert. I'm sorry, I can go into insert text box, and I can just do the first bullet, then I can copy and paste after that. It is bulleted, so I'll click on the bullet. The font should be 28 point Times New Roman, so Times New Roman, which is not immediately there again, so I'll just do TI on my keyboard so I can get down to the neighborhood of where Times New Roman is. And the size is 28 point, and it is bold, and it is white. So let me change that color, and I can start typing. Includes weapon, and I can animate this. So let me go to animations, add animation. Bullets are always blinds, horizontal, so I'll go down to more entrance effects and select blinds. Horizontal is the default direction anyway, so that's good. And I can make sure, as all bullets are, they should be on mouse click, so on click is fine. The next part is to draw an arrow from the end of this text box to the actual weapon that she's holding. So we're going to insert a shape to do that, and that's just going to be an arrow, which is in the lines category. It's the second one over. Click on that, and we'll have the arrow pointing at the actual weapon. Now, the initial arrow is very faint. It's the little blue line. We want to go up to shape outline and make it red for the color, which is just a bright red. And we also want to get down to weight. Weight will give us the thickness we need. So 4.5 point will work, and then I can animate that. On these, I like to animate as I go. The arrow is going to be wipe, and you have to think about the logical direction. So it should be from left, which is next door in our directions part. From left, there we go. And you got to think about the start on this. Arrows most of the time are after previous. They just kind of follow. You know, you click to make the includes weapon bullet come up, and then it automatically displays the arrow. Now, on arrows, the question is, you usually don't want to leave them on the slide after you've already talked about that particular item. So on the arrows, we add an extra thing on here that we like to do with arrows, and we like to hide them on next mouse click. So I want you to go up to where you have it animated already. Click on the down arrow. You can go to Effect Options. And your last choice under Don't Dim is Hide on Next Mouse Click, and that's the choice you want. And say OK. So it stays there as long as you're talking about this particular point, and then when you click to go to the next bulleted point, that arrow will disappear, because we don't want to clutter up our slide with lots of arrows hanging around after the point of which we need them. Now, I want to copy that bullet and add another bullet here. So let me just copy and paste to save time. Pull that down, and I want to go in there and say ComTech chip, and that comes over with animation, of course, so that's all good. And and the question comes up, you know, can we copy the arrow? Yes, you can. So just Control-C, Control-V to copy and paste and pull that arrow down. You do have to reposition it because that needs to start at the end of that second bullet, and it needs to end at the base of the toy, which is the ComTech chip. And it is animated. It should hide on next mouse click as well. And the third bullet on this one is just a bullet, and there's no arrow to follow. So I can just I need to copy again though, because otherwise it would just give me another arrow if I hit paste right now. So let me just copy another bullet over. This last one needs to say MSRP, manufacturer suggested retail price, and there we go. Now if we play all this, let's make sure we get it right. These two items should not move since they showed up on the previous slide. This is new, so that should animate, and it does. And we click, includes weapon, and we talk about that for a second, and then we click again. That arrow disappears, and the next arrow comes up. And then the third bullet comes up, and that second arrow disappears on cue. Okay, so escape back to our edit mode, stop and save. Slide 5 is the graph slide. Graph slide has a lot going on, but we'll just break it up into phases to make it a little easier to work through. So on slide 5, we need a subtitle. We need also to decide if Darth Maul should stay or go. I need to put the graph there, and he needs to go for right now. I'm going to delete Darth Maul out of this, and I'm going to bring in a subtitle. So I can borrow a subtitle with animation, which means I'm going to avoid the subtitle, copying the subtitle from slide 4, but I'll just pull one from 2 or 3. I'm just going to copy from one of my little shortcuts is copy a subtitle to slide 5, paste it, and then just change the words to reflect this to say sales of action figures. And the animation comes over, so we're good. And then I'm going to bring, this is part of phase 1 by the way, I'm going to bring the graph picture in. Let me scroll down to our folder, Star Wars graphics for PowerPoint. And this is the graph. It's called New Graph. It's not that new. I probably need to recreate that graph again. But anyway, there we go. Just going to pull it down. It's okay if year hangs off. It doesn't really matter if year makes it to or not. I do need to animate the graph though. So animations, add animation. I will animate as I go on this one. And on this one I want to go down to more entrance effects, because with graphs, and I use the same animation all semester for graphs, I use spiral in. So there's spiral in, the very last one in the long list of entrance effects. Say OK. Now it should also be after previous, same as the subtitle. So that's just phase 1 pops in, gives your audience something new and different to look at. Next, phase 2 starts adding the trend line. That's just the best fit line through those data points. And that's just, it's a line. So you start off with a shape. And with the shapes, go down to the line category. It's the first one. And the data point on here, actually, the first one is right there on the y-axis. So I'm just going to start on that one since it's 2010. I'm going to draw through. Remember, a trend line is the line that's the best fit through the data point. So you're not doing connect the dots or anything like that. You're just drawing the best fit line. Typically, I look at an Excel trend line that I've done with the same data. And the Excel trend line helps me mimic that same trend line in PowerPoint. But in PowerPoint, I can animate it. So here's the thin blue line. Let me go ahead and make it red like I did the other 4.5 point. And that gets it formatted. And like I said, I need to animate this. So animations for this trend line is going to be wipe. And think about the logical direction. It should be from left going that way. And it needs to be on click, because you don't want your trend line to pop up until you're ready to talk about it. So you want to control when it arrives. The next part is just a little text box that actually says linear trend line, so your audience knows exactly what you're saying. And we will insert that text box there. And it's probably just 28 point Calibre. Or Times New Roman, either one. Let me do Times New Roman. 28, bold, white. And just type in linear trend line. Do need to animate that, so I'll add animation. On this one, it's pretty tight in there, so I'll just go to more entrance effects and select box in, which is the default direction anyway. So there's box in for that. I need to change the start to after previous. That completes phase 2. Phase 3, that starts the forecast part. So I'm going to insert an oval over 2014. So I'm forecasting for 2014. Obviously I don't have a data point, and normally I would need to update this graph to go all the way out to like 2021 or something like that. But in lieu of that, let's do it this way. We'll just go out to it where there's no data point and forecast what we think it would be for 2014. I will insert another shape. I'm going to circle or put an oval around 2014. Ovals are down here in basic shapes, and there's one right there. And typically, I just, you don't have to do it this way, but I like to do it this way. I like to draw my oval out to the side, kind of figure out how big it needs to be. I kind of format it out here, and then when I think I'm done, I drive it over the top of 2014, or drive it over, whatever I may be doing over here. Now, on this one, I've got some fill color I need to get rid of, so I'm going to go to Shape Fill. Just click on Format if it's not already up for you, and say No Fill. Then go back and go to Shape Outline right underneath that, and you want it to be red. And you want it to be 4.5. Now it's formatted correctly, and I will use my arrow keys on my keyboard instead of my mouse to get that to pop over. and go up a little bit and just kind of get that, either whether it be a month or a year, to get it, you know, centered on that. And then I'll animate it. Again, it's just going to be white. Doesn't matter on a graph, on an oval, you know, what the direction is. No, it doesn't. It's a circle. You know, it's just going to go back around to itself. So I'm going to make sure, though, it's on, starts on click, just because you need to be in control of when this forecast part begins. The next two things is an arrow up and an arrow over. So let me do an arrow up. This arrow up is very important. Let me go to shapes again. And this is an arrow, second thing over in the line category. And you have a little green tick mark there. I'm going to start right on that. It's very important before you start and where you finish. If you have, I always have trouble keeping it nice and straight, so I hold shift down on my keyboard. That's a little trick to keep it, make it straighten up, and go straight up to the trend line. And wherever it strikes the trend line is kind of your answer. But since it's so hard to see where that actually lines up at, that's why we do another arrow to kind of guide our audience back to the y-axis value it lands on. Alright, so I need to make this red again. I need to make it 4.5 point. And I need to animate this. Okay, so I'll go back up again. It's just wipe, but you do have to think about the direction. It is wipe from bottom in this case. So our direction is from bottom. And the start is going to be after previous, because it's just following that oval. The oval's on click, but the arrow up and the arrow over is after previous. Now I need another arrow, but it's going horizontally. So I am going to just insert, I'm not going to copy and paste, I'm just going to insert a whole nother arrow. So it just makes it, seems like it's easier this way. It's very important that you start right at the intersection point of where the other arrow left off, because that's important to give you the right answer. So I'm going to click in there, and I'm going to draw over, and I'm going to hold shift down again as I drive over here, and it hits the y-axis. It's just a guide to help me see where it lands on the y-axis, which is my answer. So I'm going to make it red again. I'm going to make it 4.5, and I'm going to animate it. Think about, it is wipe again for the animation, but think about your direction. It's from right this time. It's a little bit different. So from here down to here. And I might need to come down just a hair with my arrow keys. Okay. And the answer looks like it's hitting around, if you can tell, 68 billions. Yeah, 68 billion. Anyway. And what we want to do is just make sure that's after previous, which I didn't change that. Okay. And the last thing is just a text box that kind of announces the answer. So I can actually borrow this text box actually and copy and paste that. Just get a duplicate there, push it up there, and change the words to say, you know, in 2014. Whoops, let me get that right. Revenue is projected or forecast to be, and then put your amount in there. In this case, it's like 68 billion. And we can just say 68B, and it'll fit. And when you're presenting, you know, your mouth would actually be saying this. So that's why you have this. When you animate this, we'll animate it on click. We'll change it to back on click since we copied it from that one. So that when you're ready to say it, you click to make it appear on the screen this at the same time that you're repeating this. Okay. And that takes care of the graph slide. So let me play the finished version so you can kind of see. Plus to make sure we didn't have any errors along the way. So that's phase 1. And that's phase 2. And that's phase 3. And the last text box that sums up the answer. Okay. Now that completes slide 6 on page 22, or 23 I should say. Page 23, that is the movie slide. Actually putting a video in here that plays from within the slide. It's always a good trick to know. There's 3 different ways to do it depending on which computer you're on, so let me walk you through those ways. If I'm putting a video here, I don't really have room for Darth Maul, so once again he's going to go away, but I promise you he will return on the last slides. Now I need a subtitle, so I can just grab another one from slide 2 as long as it's got animation. We're good, and paste that in there and just change the words. This is scenes from the movie. And on this one, I can insert the particular video I want. I already have it downloaded, so for those of you that are downloading it, then you want to get an insert video. Now there's two choices in there. The one, if you already have the video downloaded on your hard drive, or like in my case, I already have the video on the network video on my PC, I'll click on that. And I'll go back to our shared folder and find out, let you see that particular one. It's in that same folder that your images were in. It just didn't show it before because you were only looking at pictures. So this is our video, and you can insert that. And when it brings it in, it may take a few seconds, but it fills up the whole slide usually. And it's up to you to resize it down so it doesn't cover everything else up. And there is that's about as big as we can make it, I think. I can probably just scoot that other part down a little bit more. There we go. Maybe a little bit too big. Let me always resize from the corners, by the way, just to keep everything in proportion. Now, that's just a play button at the very bottom. And this particular way, video on my PC, it gives you more control as far as you can trim it down if it's too large of a video. Trim it down to just the part you want to show, which is nice. And on this one, like I said, I can play within the slide. There's a lot of intro stuff on here that I probably don't want. And so I can trim it, and I'll show you how to do that. When you do it this way, you get the format and playback tools. It's called video tools up here. You don't get these tools on the other way I'm going to show you, but this way you do. So in the playback tab, you have a trim video tool. Okay, and if I wanted to get rid of all that initial introduction part, you know, I can get past all that if I want to and just start with the story, and I can start it there. And maybe I only need, you know, maybe I only have 2 minutes I'm allowed to show or something like that, and so I can just, you know, pull it back to whatever part and just play that part in between there, and we'll be okay. Now that's one way I can do it. So even when I launch, it plays the movie from within the slide. And let me just hit the play button after I launch so you can kind of see that happening. And then that way, if that way doesn't work, you can delete that out. The other way, or that way does work almost always, even in our labs, but the other way that works fine on your, and all three ways will work fine on your own laptop, most likely if you have PowerPoint on there. The other way is insert video on online video. That one has two choices. And on these two ways, you can just search YouTube in general. You know, I could go up in there and say episode 1. I can just say Star Wars episode 1, obviously. So I'll just say Star Wars episode 1. And it would just search out some Star Wars videos, in which case, you know, I could pick one of them and insert it, and there it is. Okay, and you can resize it and all that. Now you can't trim on these next two I'm showing you, this one and the other one. You can only trim on the one where it's like video on my PC, like you've already downloaded the file, the movie file to your computer. So that one works. It doesn't play in the it doesn't play in the edit mode. You actually have to launch to see it play. And sometimes I have to give it a little minute. And there it is. I can play from that. Okay. Let me delete that one. The other way is online video again, but this time from a video embed code. And it says paste embed code here, and then click that button. But you got to go find the embed code, and that's located in YouTube. So here's one of my videos. If I went to share button on YouTube, on the actual video page, there's the embed. I would click on embed, and it would give me this long code, but I need that long code. And the nice thing is I can just let me scroll down. Usually it says just copy, but I don't see the copy button. But I just would highlight it, copy it, and go back to PowerPoint to that particular paste code here, you know, and paste the code there. It's a very long code, but it's just a copy and paste function. It's no big deal. Okay, you can see it all there when I. And then you're not done until you actually hit the little arrow button that inserts it. And it does take a minute for it to do its thing. There it is. And I just need to drag it down and resize it. Okay. And then you won't really see it until you actually launch the show or launch the slide. And see, obviously I just picked one of my videos, but anyway, you get the red button and it's ready to play. Okay, so that's another way. All right. So obviously the first way, if you're working in the labs, our labs here. The next two slides are just a closing slide in a duplicate of itself. So, and the thing is, you could actually, slide 7 is very similar to slide 1. You could actually copy slide 1 and paste it as slide 7 and just turn off some things and add a hyperlink. I mean, that's really all you have to do. So you can take slide 1, copy it, and pop it right in there right before you see 7 here, because it becomes the new slide 7. Okay, and just like we did before, you decide one by one, item by item, what stays, what goes, and what needs to be tweaked a bit to make it work for this particular slide. All right, so this was slide 1. You know, everything animated on slide 1, right? So you don't need, on slide 7, you do not need this to animate again. So I'm going to turn off the animation to that. So it's there, but it's just not going to animate. Okay. And Darth Maul actually, he comes back on this slide, and he does need to animate since he's been gone so long. So, and he is animated because it came from slide 1, so we're good. ShopTrendyToys.com also shows up on slide 7, and it's animated, so we're good on that. Presented by is also on this slide, and it's animated, so that's all good too. The extra thing on this slide is the hyperlink we're going to build in, but we're going to build it in on a new text box called Start Your Collection Today that's going to go right there. So I can probably even go to slide 5 and borrow a text box like that. Just that linear trendline one. I'm not about reinventing the wheel. I always copy and paste from whatever I can borrow from. I got to change the words, obviously, to say Start Your Collection Today. And get that kind of, I can get that, probably need to get that a little better centered than that, if I can just get it to let me at the side of it, but it's not wanting to let me pull that. Anyway, yeah, I'll eyeball it. It's good enough. Now this one's all about the let me just center it within the text box and then drag it over. Okay, I want to, on this one, make sure that we got a hyperlink. Now there's a right way and a wrong way to put in a hyperlink. One looks good and the other one looks kind of ugly, but they'll both still hyperlink. So just make sure you do it the right way to not lose points on the test. So we have a solid border around the text box, or we can be more in the edit mode. Well, it's kind of doing both. All right, let me just make sure that's a solid line, and click on that border, and get on that border, and right click on that border to get a menu, and to put, and your choice is hyperlink, so that's about midway. So click on hyperlink, and the address is here, and we want to just type in what external web address do we want to send this link to. So www.starwars.com, to the official website. Say OK. Nothing really changes yet, which is good. You don't want it to turn blue. You don't want a line underneath it that would indicate you did it the wrong way. And the wrong way, what happens is people just take their mouse and highlight the actual words, and that's what turns it ugly. Okay. Now, to check it out and just see, one other thing I need to do here. I've got the hyperlink set, but you know, I added this text box last, and it really should be 1, 2. It should be the third thing. But as you can see on my animation pane, it's the last thing. It's the fourth thing. So I need to change places. Presented by needs to be the last thing. So let me bump my hyperlink text box up one more in the animation pane. Just grab it, push it up so that it's first animated item is Darth Maul. Second is that big text box, followed by the hyperlink text box, followed by your name. Okay, that's the order we're looking for over here in the animation pane. And let me play it. And then if I want to check out my hyperlink, I can click on that and it will take me, well, probably going to ask me which browser I want, but other than that, it should take me to the home page of what's going on for the day for that particular thing. And there we go. And I want to go back to PowerPoint and just escape out of that and go back. Let's see, that's not my finished one. Hold on. There we go. The one we're working on is this one. Now, that's all there. I told you we had to make a duplicate of 7 once we're sure 7 is correct, of course. In the slides loader, click on 7, and I want to copy that slide. So you can right click and copy, or you can just say Control C, either one. And underneath 7, you want to Control V, or right click and paste, and get an exact duplicate 7 to 8. Okay. Now in 8, there is one difference. We're going to turn off all the animation. So in 8, here I am. It says 8, and I have 4 things that are animated. I want to turn them off. So I'll click on each one, the down arrow, and I'll hit remove. And I'll just keep doing that until everything is cleared out of the animation pane. So everything's cleared out. I'm left with just a duplicate with no extra stuff. So I've got some extra slides in the slides loader I don't need, so I'm just going to click on them and hit delete on my keyboard. Not backspace, but delete. So I should have just 1 through 8 showing when I'm all done. So, and the reason we do the duplicate, if you forgot what I said in class, here's 7, or this is 8. Forget. This is 7, and if lots of times when you're presenting you're nervous and you might accidentally click one more time and you didn't mean to. So if I did accidentally click, it went to slide 8, but the audience didn't know it went to slide 8. The audience doesn't know I accidentally clicked one more time. Okay, so it avoids this problem. Like you're on last slide, you accidentally click. You don't want it going blank like this in front of your audience, and that's why we build in that duplicate slide with no animation on it. Okay, hope this video helps you, and have a great day. Thanks for your time.